For many, the lockdown has been an opportunity to rethink how we do our jobs. When going to the office isn't possible, how can we whiteboard new ideas, hold all-hands meetings, or put each other's staplers in Jell-O? Fortunately, there's Microsoft Teams, and WebEx and Zoom and Slack, but this video is about Teams. It's become essential for pretty much everyone to prioritize collaboration. With its huge enterprise footprint, Microsoft is the obvious vendor for a shocking number of IT leaders, at least the ones I've spoken with. So I thought it would be cool to go over some new features Microsoft has announced and to talk about some of the implications. For those of you who don't know, Teams is Microsoft's Skype for Business replacement. It's got voice and video capability, like Skype, but it also has channels and persistent chat, like Slack. There's a SharePoint backend for file storage as well, if you're into that sort of thing. You can have video meetings, you can share content, have a channel for collaborating on a specific project, and even use apps like Whiteboard, all through Microsoft Teams. You can basically do anything but that Jell-O stapler thing. And Microsoft is adding even more features. In fact, if you ask them, they'll tell you they're reimagining virtual collaboration for the future of work and learning. Groovy. So what does this mean in practice? Well, a couple things. First, Microsoft is introducing Together Mode, which is an iteration on the old gallery view. You know, the one with dozens of little images around the screen?
That's when you can turn on Together Mode. It puts your team in one shared space. Microsoft AI helps break down barriers, letting you communicate more naturally and feel more connected to your team.
In this mode, individual participants will be clipped from their backgrounds and displayed as though they're all in the same place. Microsoft is rolling this out in August in a bid to make certain types of meetings less taxing and more natural. And this is a big problem for them. They talked to a professor who told them, and I'm quoting here, "If someone's face looms large on your visual sphere in real life, it generally means that you're either about to fight or mate, so you're alert and hyper-aware on video calls. It's a lot for your body's nervous system to handle." Naturally, they want to solve this problem and hopefully make everyone's video calls less taxing. Changing gears, another feature is Dynamic View. As its name implies, this introduces some dynamism into the normally static gallery view, allowing users to adjust who appears on screen next to shared content, for example, and using AI for optimization. Maybe it'll be able to tell the difference between when I'm talking and when I'm just, breathing heavily. A final feature I want to talk about is filtering. The ability to fix lighting and focus issues using software is certainly going to help me up my meeting game. I'm sure I'm not alone on that front. There are some other features coming as well, but these I think are the most interesting. Let's talk about why they're important. As we've all had to reckon with what could be a fundamental transformation in how we work, we've forced technology companies to make better, more relevant tools. A meeting with an entirely remote participant list wasn't the norm before. It is now. These new features are Microsoft's way of saying, we're listening. That's definitely a good thing. But I can't shake the idea that we might need to rethink about how we collaborate at a more fundamental level. Let me explain what I mean by this. Our goals didn't change when we got pushed out of the office. If you're a salesperson, you're still responsible for selling. If you're an advisor, like me, you're still responsible for advising. If you're an executive, you better keep executiving. But so much of what we do is shaped by the context and even the physical space in which we do it. When Steve Jobs was designing the Pixar office, for example, he wanted to emphasize collaboration, and the office's layout crammed all sorts of different people with different titles together to foster creativity. If you're not familiar, you should read about it. It's really interesting. Our digital spaces are not the same as our physical spaces, obviously. They're better in some ways, and they're worse in others. Simply rebuilding a digital version of a physical space comes with two assumptions. First, the way collaboration is done in the physical world is better, and second, that physical collaboration can be effectively replicated digitally. And I'm not sure that's always true. Do we really want to port the physical world over into the digital, or do we want to leverage the strengths of this fundamentally different environment? I think the latter is probably a better way to go, and based on the changes it's made, I think Microsoft probably agrees. Microsoft allowing its Teams customers to alter their backgrounds, following its competitors of course, is an example of a digital-first capability. The same goes for dynamic presentation and lighting. That's encouraging. I'm less sold on Together Mode. My initial thought is that we need to rethink how we disseminate information and work collaboratively, not simulate an auditorium or a cafeteria. But I'm prepared to be wrong. Let me know what you think. If this type of remote work becomes the new norm, will you be excited to use Together Mode? Or will you miss encasing your colleagues' staplers in Jell-O? Hey, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate your time. I actually did a version of this video, audio only, on a colleague of mine's podcast, the Infotech Insights podcast with Brian Jackson. You guys should definitely go check that out, and I'll put a link in the text accompanying this video. If you liked it, please like the video. You can share it if you want on LinkedIn. Subscribe to me on YouTube. I'm hoping to hit double digits soon, and thank you again so much, everyone, for supporting me as I make these.